Big sports guy. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. What's going on, everybody? My name's Dawson, and this is Beyond the Playbook. All right, guys, welcome back to episode 4. We have a very special guest on Beyond the Playbook, Amber Jackson. Amber, how are you doing today?
I'm good, thanks.
Let's get right into it if you don't mind. I actually found you through Dexcom U, which you will talk about that a little later in the podcast. But my wife and I, we recently found out son, he has type 1 diabetes. He's on the autism spectrum. So when I was looking for potential guests, I just pulled up Dexcom U and was just kind of going through athletes and sending DMs. And you were so nice just to reach back out and be interested in wanting to do this. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah. So you're from California. What was it like growing up there? And tell us a little bit about what that was like growing up playing sports and everything.
Yeah, okay. So when I say I'm from California, everyone thinks the beach, but I'm actually from the mountains. So like Lake Tahoe area. Um, and I love it there. I'm from a small little town called Susanville, California, and it's kind of funny because the only reason the town is there is because it's a prison town. So it's like kind of funny, but we had a small little rec soccer team there, and that's where I started. Um, I loved it. I was homeschooled. It was the dream, just play recess in your backyard the whole day. But um, so I started there. I played rec until high school, and then I kind of wanted to take it further. So my parents moved across the mountain to Sacramento, which is a bigger city, of course, in California. So um, I started playing club there and went to high school. And once I graduated, I went to Oregon State.
No, that's really cool. Tell us a little bit about you were growing up, you got diagnosed. I think what I read was at age 7. So what was that kind of like for you? And you told me that you played a lot of different sports and trying to manage that growing up because I'm sure the technology was a little different than what it is now.
Yeah, it was definitely different when I was first diagnosed. I was diagnosed when I was 7, and honestly, my diagnosis was not that traumatic, which was nice because we caught it pretty early, with just like some symptoms of like excessive thirst and hunger and like just kind of failure to thrive. And then when I was first diagnosed, we had injections, which is some people still use. It's like perfectly fine. Um, but I switched to insulin pump when I was like 10 or so, and that was really nice. I've used several different types. Right now, I'm on a looping system, and I love it because it gives me a lot of anatomy with it. Um, but yeah, I've used a lot, and the technology has gotten so much better over the years, which is nice. Um, but everyone says, and even I just said it, everyone says the technology is so good, but it's like just still so hard. Um, it's the hardest part about sports, but at the same time, um, what I've learned from living with diabetes in sport and in life has given me tools that I couldn't get anywhere else. So like it's a give and a take. So I wouldn't ask for it not to be there, but it definitely is the hardest part, I would say, about my life, which is a very big blessing in a lot of ways. But um, so yeah, I started with Dexcom when I was in college, but I didn't start using them until about college also. So they have amazing technology. But yeah,
Yeah, when my son he was diagnosed a little over a year ago, it was just he was going to the fridge and he's nonverbal, so he was just going to the fridge and grabbing a gallon of milk. He just couldn't quench his thirst, and he wasn't eating. And I just know
wow.
we just knew something wasn't right, and he was peeing through his diapers, and we were like, oh my gosh, something's seriously wrong. So My uncle actually has type 1 diabetes, so, but that was the only person that we really knew, and, you hear of what type 1 is, and a lot of people, I don't think, really kinda understand, because I definitely didn't understand what it was. I mean, we had to take classes and learn about what a Dexcom is and how to prick his finger if the Dexcom's not working and everything, and, I mean, it is a lot, and just to hear about your story is just super cool, and I'm excited to keep diving into it. But I mean, you being a dual sport athlete in college and both undergrad and graduate school, like that's awesome for you. And I really think you should be a big inspiration, not only for, you know, people with diabetes, but, athletes in general. I mean, being a Division 1 dual sport athlete is pretty awesome. So that's really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
So, and when you're in California, what other sports did you play? I know you placed in track and cross country, and you also placed in state basketball, but did you play anything else other than those?
Um, no, no, well, yeah, actually, I played volleyball, but that was kind of just a fun one for me. I'm not tall enough to be a middle hitter, but somehow they put me there. So, um, that was all in high school. Until high school, all I did was soccer. Um, and my first year of high school, I was like dead set on like soccer, and all I did was club soccer. Um, with all the rules they have now, they don't even like you to play high school and club at the same time. So that's what I was doing. But then I started running track one year and I was like, oh my gosh, I love this. So um, the rest of my high school was kind of filled with literally as many sports as I could possibly play. So yeah, that was track and cross country and basketball was super fun. We did go to state. And we won that, which was awesome. But the good times, right? You always, I feel like I remember high school, and I'm like, that was my prime. But
No, I mean, no, that's super cool. So you ended up actually going to Oregon State. What made you choose to go there? Like, was it the coaching staff? I mean, I'm sure you got a scholarship playing there, but I mean, why Oregon State? You're from California, so.
yeah, it's like the best decision I ever made, thank the Lord. But it was kind of a journey to get there because I was actually committed to California Baptist University in Southern California because that's where all my friends were going. But I went on an official visit with the soccer team there, and I just was like not fully confident that that's where I was supposed to be. So I like took a leap of faith and I decommitted from there, and I was like, I really want to do track and soccer somewhere. So I'm gonna try to just email a bunch of coaches and see who says yes. So I did that, and thankfully, Oregon State. This was like in my senior year, so like not a lot of money's left on all the teams, and roster spots are taken. So I'm like really flying by the seat of my pants here. And thankfully, Oregon State reached out, and they were like, "Hey, we'd love to have you, but we don't have any money left. So you can walk on here if you want, but I'll let you run if you want." And I was like, "Heck yeah! It's not beautiful, but I'll take it." And honestly, at that point, um, I just wanted to do both, and so the money was not that big of a deal to me. I was like, "I'll walk on. It doesn't matter." So I did that, and after the first year, thankfully, um, he was able to get me some scholarship, which was much needed. But it just like it's a big part of my story, at least for myself, because it was a leap of faith that um, thankfully I believe the Lord like worked out in my life, and He had a plan. But it was scary there for a while, and I followed my passion, and that was more important than the money to me. Um, and it thankfully ended up working out, so that was good.
Yeah. Yeah, what'd you study there? Like, what was something that was helped you with your passion?
So when I was there, I studied they call it kinesiology. So the study of exercise science. And my goal there was to become a diabetic consultant. Consultant meaning like basically an endocrinologist, but not a doctor. I guess. Yeah. Basically just wanted to help people with their diabetes. So I was doing nutrition and kinesiology, which would help me have a basis to do that.
No, that's really cool. So you got to do something while you were there in track and field, and I've seen it on TV. I've seen it, you know, while watching track and field events. A steeplechase. That's a pretty cool event. Like just watching not only the races, but seeing some of your pictures in action at Oregon State. What? Just tell our listeners kind of what that is. I mean, that looks pretty intense.
Honestly, it's a ridiculous event. I'm not even sure why it's a thing, but it is really fun. I enjoy it because it's like running a mile, a little bit more than a mile, but you're jumping over hurdles. And I was never really fast enough to be like a hurdler, so um, it was fun for me because I could jump over hurdles and you jump into this big water pit, which is really fun. It's kind of like cross country, but on a track. Um, and everyone always thinks of the horse race because it's the steeplechase is technically a horse race. And I'm like, well, yeah, I guess it's like that. But yeah, that was fun. I started out doing the mile and like mid distance, but my coach there loved the steeplechase, and anyone who was willing to jump over a hurdle, he was like, okay, we're putting you in the steeplechase. And I liked it. So,
No, that's super cool. And not only doing track and field, but playing soccer. What was it like, you know, going to a D1 university, trying to manage both soccer? I mean, that's a fall sport, and then you got spring sport and track and field, and then you got school on top of that. So what was that like trying to manage that between both of those, or all three of those, really?
yeah, it was a lot, but it was I mean soccer was my main sport. That's where my scholarship really came from. So during the fall, that's the main soccer season, and so I was dedicated to soccer then. And so I would do that in the fall. Um and then I would just in the spring, I would like have track in the morning and then class and then soccer in the evening. And it was just basically like eat, work out, school, eat some more, sleep a little, take a nap in the locker room, whatever we had to do. It was probably one of the hardest things I've done. Um, just with like how much it was like putting on my body and like um just mentally as well, but also one of the most rewarding things I've ever done. Um, if I had to go back and do it again, I would probably not do soccer in the spring as well because that was just I think too much on my body. But it was like I said again, it was totally worth it. So yeah,
Yeah, no, I mean that's really cool. I mean, now a lot of D1 athletes, I mean, trying to manage school and one sport alone, but get to see what you've done with playing two sports. I mean, that's super cool. And not only trying to deal with your diabetes, also, I mean, what did tell us a little bit about the process? Because actually, our last guest, she was an athletic trainer for the University of New Mexico's women's basketball team. But what is that process like working with your trainer for both track and field and soccer?
yeah. Um, it was kind of difficult because you're just trying to manage like two different people who are trying to help you, which is actually nice because you have more than one person. But um, the hardest part is a lot of athletic trainers are not educated on what it is, and so you have to really help them through the background of it and like what you need because not all diabetics need the same thing. Um, so that's always been tricky for me just over the years. Um, and a lot of times it just seems easier to do it myself. But I was very lucky to have great athletic trainers, and they would, even though they didn't understand it, they would like always be there with like gummies and like Gatorade and be like, "What do you need?" And I could just be like, "I need Gatorade," or "I don't need any of it. I need insulin." So it was they were great, and it definitely an essential part of my success there. Yeah.
No, I mean, that's really cool, and like I said, you have an awesome story. So you end up going from Oregon State to Louisville, Kentucky, to the University of Louisville. You're still doing the track and field thing and playing soccer there. So you're forward for soccer, is that correct?
Yeah, yeah.
You told me that you've scored, I think, 30 goals over your career. Is that right?
I think so, something like that.
No, I mean, that's a big accomplishment. And so you're still doing that. What are you studying while you're at Louisville?
So I'm finished studying what I was studying at Oregon State. This they call it exercise science here. Um, so I graduated from that in the fall, and now I'm in the nursing program.
Wow. So you're all in, really, is what you're doing. So that's really cool. What's kind of the next goal for you in your career once you graduate from the University of Louisville?
Yeah. So when I came to Louisville, I was full blown soccer, and that was my goal. I came here so I could get more recognition on the professional field. Um, and over the year or two that I was here, it just that door kind of closed for me. I could go overseas if I wanted to, but I just kind of not that I lost my passion for soccer, but I think I had just spent my time with it and I was happy and I was good, but I kind of wanted to move on to something else. So I joined the nursing program and I did that because I think it'll give me a lot of flexibility and I can um, then go on and sit for the diabetic educator certification. So then I can work with diabetics, which was my original goal. So that is the goal with the career. And then my goal is to move back to Oregon and run professionally for a club there. That is my current goal. But we'll see what
Wow.
happens.
No, I mean, that's super cool. Like, you got some pretty big ambitions. I mean, just the diabetes educators alone, the ones that we've met with Omnipod and the first one we met with when we were in the hospital. I mean, that's in a pretty emotional state for, I mean, anybody. And you being able to tell your story as a dual sport athlete and at 2 different D1 universities and you growing up with it and being able like, you I mean, you can kinda tell them, like, anything's possible like that. I mean, that's really cool about your story and everything you've done, managing that, and for you to be able to be like, "This is I have this. This is what you guys are gonna go through." Because I mean, my wife Casey and myself, like, sitting there is like, we have just a million thoughts going through our head while we're sitting there, so I mean, it's really cool that you're gonna do that, and, I hope everything works out with it. So you were a Dexcom U athlete. Tell us a little bit about what that is, how you got into it. I saw you got to do a camp and you're a mentor for some young athletes. What is that?
Yeah, Dexcom U is super cool. I'm very blessed to be a part of that group. Before I was invited to that, I honestly didn't know very many diabetic athletes, and there's quite a few out there that, but you just wouldn't know if you're on the other side of the country, you know? So, um, that was super cool. I was able to get a community there. They basically just brought together a group of diabetic NCAA athletes, and they we had a camp in San Diego where a bunch of diabetic kids came, and we just had fun playing sports. It was awesome. I love the outreach that they do with it, the inspiration that they do with it. Um, and we're able to get Dexcom supplies, so it's a win-win because they are not cheap. But so yeah, that's what I do with them. They're super cool, a company, and I mean transformed my diabetic control, which is very nice. But yeah.
I mean, I didn't even know this was a thing. I literally just, ever since starting this podcast, I've been, reaching out to different people with different stories. And I think, I just went on there and I was going down Dexcom U athletes. And I mean, you'd be surprised. Like, I saw you being a dual sport athlete. I saw somebody that goes to Creighton and plays basketball. I was like, oh my gosh, like
Mhm.
you would have no idea.
I know. Yeah. And there's professional athletes in there too, which is really cool.
Hearing your story has been super cool today, and I really appreciate your time. We have a last segment on Beyond the Playbook where our last guest comes up with the question for the next guest. So, Lexi's question for you was, what was the most rewarding moment for you in life?
Oh, good question, Lexi. I think the most rewarding moment for me in sport has been, can I say two things?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Okay. Okay. Um, Number one is just the daily like dedication and the amount of passion that it takes to perform a sport at whatever level you play it at. Um, and just to put so much energy into something, it makes it super special. Um, but if you don't love it, then and you don't put the energy into it, then there's something else out there that you can put your energy into. For me, that was sports, and that's why I love it so much. Um, and then number two is, I think, just expressing that to other people when like we have like the high fives after a match, and like just sharing that camaraderie and like honestly just like giving the energy to each other and being like, hey, like way to put everything you had out there, and like at the end of a race like picking someone else up off the floor, or like during a race and you're like, hey, come on, we got this. I think those two things are my favorite parts about sports.
And I think that's a fantastic answer. So, you'll get to come up with the question for our next guest now.
Okay, if you could play any other sport, what would you play?
Right. All right, Amber. Well, you've been such a great guest telling everybody your story and how you got to do things. We'll get that shared on our socials for young people with diabetes that are wanting to get into sports or people having trouble with managing that in sports. Just hearing how you were able to do that with two different sports is really cool. And you growing up with it. And I mean, it doesn't seem like a crush for you. You just you seem like a pretty go getter for that. So I really appreciate you coming on today. And I look forward to watching where your career goes and hearing more in the future. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
We gon' always